One man's nightmare is another man's dream. One silent person in another man's scheme. One man's will could leave the rest with no control. The boy was always far too young and the man was much too old. One man forgotten gives another one fame. One woman's beauty means another lives in shame. One begs the fool while the other counts her diamonds. One is never satisfied, the other blesses you in silence. One man's hatred is another man's faith. One man's poison is another man's cake. One thinks he knows it, but he's never ever tried it. He won't take a bite in public, but he'll eat it all in private. Careless error is another man's fate. One man's fall is another one's break. One man's treason is another's escape. One piece of perfect timing means another's just too late. One man gets richer from another fool's addiction. One thinks it's fact while the other knows it's fiction. One blaze of final glory, there's another die unknown. The one who plants the seed will never see the tree full grown. One man's hatred is another man's faith. One man's poison is another man's cake. One thinks he knows it, but he's never ever tried it. He won't take a bite in public, but he'll eat it all in private. One man's wisdom means another can see. One proved guilty lets another go free. One man's heaven is another man's hell. To one of mine quite empty is more use than one to four. One to four. One child of 5 is already full of lies. One can't create, but he's keen to criticize. One man's enemy is someone else's friend. One act of madness brings a journey sudden end. One man's pleasure is another man's pain. One takes a picture he will never see again. One talks of love, but he's grown used to watching violence. One who's lost is much too proud to ask for guidance. One man's hatred is another man's faith. One man's poison is another man's cake. One thinks he knows it, but he's never ever tried it. He won't take a bite in public, but he'll eat it all in private.